Good morning, friends. I hope you're doing well on this Sunday morning and continuing to enjoy your summer break. In this week's gospel lesson, we are going to hear another parable, and it's very similar to the parable that Jesus used last week when he was talking to the disciples about the seeds and what type of soil they fell on. Today we're going to hear a parable about the wheat and the weeds. And remember, a parable is a story that Jesus used to teach the disciples a lesson that he wanted them to understand. And so sometimes his disciples did not understand what he was trying to tell them in the parable, and so Jesus would explain it to them later. And so that is what we're going to see happen today. And so while I'm reading the story of the parable of the weeds, I want you to come up with a picture in your head. And then after today's video ends, maybe you can take some time to draw that picture and think about the lesson that we're going to talk about right now, and draw a picture that this parable means to you. So let's open our Bibles to Matthew chapter 13, and we're going to begin with verse 24. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemies came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, 'First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.'" Then he left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the people of the kingdom. The weeds are the people of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears, let them hear." The word of the Lord. All right, so keep holding that picture that you came up with in your mind so that you can draw it just a little bit later to help you reflect on the parable. So you may not know a lot about growing plants, or maybe you've had a garden and you've experienced some weeds in there. Maybe you were trying to grow flowers and you realized that you had a morning glory vine that was growing up your flowers. Well, things like that happen to farmers too. And when the farmers are growing wheat, sometimes weeds that look almost exactly like wheat grow up among the rows and between the plants of the crop that the farmer is trying to grow. And so if he were to go out and try to remove all those weeds, he might confuse some of his actual crop as being weeds, and so he would pull those up and get rid of them. And also, if the farmer was spending all of his time worrying about the weeds that were growing, he might neglect the crop that he was trying to grow. And so while he might not have any weeds, he also might have forgotten to fertilize and take care of the crops that he was intending to grow. And also, just like it said in the parable, if the weeds are growing in the row with the crop or the wheat, then when you pull the weed out, it disturbs the root of the crop, and then the crop can't take up the nutrients and the water that it needs to grow. And therefore, it would never live to harvest where it could be sold, which is the farmer's ultimate goal. And so Jesus is not really talking about gardening or farming in this parable. He is using it as an example that the disciples will understand. So if we view Jesus as the one who sowed the good seeds, and we are the good seeds, and the good news is the good seeds that he spreads, then what he is telling us is that we should not be worried about all the other things that don't seem good in our lives. I know you can think of some things that you might consider weeds that you might think need to go. Things like homework or chores, or maybe there is someone who's not really nice to you, and so you think that they're not really part of the good crop, and you would prefer that they were not in your life. But what Jesus is telling us is that if we spend all of our time worrying about the weeds, then we miss out on focusing on spreading the crop and the good news and the good seeds. We miss out on enjoying all the other wonderful things in our lives, like playing with friends or time with family, or all the special moments that we spend when we're together here in church, or your favorite hobbies or activities. Enjoying those things in life, all the good things that God has given us. If we stay focused on the weeds, like the chores and the homework and the people who aren't always nice to us. And so as you go forward this week, try to focus on those good seeds that God has sown in your life, and try to sow those seeds to other people. Be a friend, be kind, show love, and try not to worry about those things which don't make you completely happy, or which you wish were not so much a part of your daily life. Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for loving us and teaching us what is good. Continue to help us hear with our ears and see with our eyes all of the wonderful blessings you have given us. Amen. And now if you draw a picture of this parable, whatever it means to you, whatever the picture that came to your mind, share it with us in the comments below on Facebook. Or you can email it to me at the church at childrensministries@stjamesfairhope.org. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Go in peace.